Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Software Success. I'm Ashley Jones from Dime by OESD, and I'm excited to be here with you and share my love of embroidery software with all of you. If you are new to Software Success, this is where we learn to use our embroidery software from Dime to its fullest. We like to show you all kinds of things that you can do to create your custom designs and really get the most out of your software. So if you have questions, I always like to answer them while we're here so that you can learn as we go. So we've got a lot of people I see joining, and so we'll just say hi to a few people as everybody's jumping in. And so I see some new names and some names that I recognize. So I love seeing everybody here. So, hi, Carolyn from Cumberland Plateau. Good to see you. Donna from North Idaho. Deborah from sunny Alabama. Joyce from Cape Coral, Florida. Mary Ann, and so from Ohio. Thanks for joining always, Mary Ann. April Taylor, always good to see you as well from Australia. Shelda, thanks for being here from Louisiana. Caroline, thanks for being here from hot sunny South Texas, I bet. So I see lots of people joining in. Thanks for joining, Sam. I see all the stuff you're doing with your software. So Sam Matthew is really like becoming an expert quickly. She's spending a lot of time in her software. And Linda Johnston too. So I know that you use your software a ton. So here at Ann Palmer, thanks for being here. She's my neighbor to the north. Dawn from Creative Appliques. Thanks for being here. She says from Soggy, Virginia. And so I love all these descriptions of everybody's place that they live. Look, Roxy Bold from Chile, North Dakota, from beautiful Ohio. Reen, thanks for being here. You guys know Reen from Embroidery Gardens. And so I love seeing all of those names. Mountain House, California. Callie, thanks for being here as always. So lots of people joining. My friend Bet over in Phoenix. I bet it's sunny and warm over there as well. So, and then Susan, thanks for being here, Susan. And Fort Lauderdale, I'm just down in the Keys, so we're so close. So I love that. I love that we can reach so many people all across the country, and just by broadcasting. So it's so cool that brings us all together, right? So, thanks for being here. So, and Ain, you guys know Ain, one of our amazing educators here. So thanks for being here, Ain. I hope I could teach her something. She knows a lot about the software. So, and then Cindy Clark, thanks for being here. I always see what Cindy's doing as well. So, okay. So if you guys are new here, I always like to say too, you can ask questions during this presentation. Just put a few question marks in front of your question. The question marks starting just helps me pick it out as the comments are flying by. So just put a couple of question marks if it actually is a question that you want me to take a look at and answer. So, and then Joanne Banco, you guys know Joanne Banco from Let's Go Sew. So thanks for being here, Joanne. Always good to see you too. Okay, so the topic here today was a viewer request. So see what happens when you ask nicely. So a few episodes ago, I asked for any topics that you guys might like to see. And so last episode 2 weeks ago, I actually did a viewer requested topic, and this is also another viewer requested topic. So, and I'm going to expand on it. So I think the requested topic was about creating a custom fill for In the Hoop Designer software, but you can actually do this in a lot of our Dime software, and also create custom motifs if you have PEP that'll actually store within the software. So I'll share that with you. So I'm going to do several different takes on it, but this will apply to your In the Hoop Designer and several other software programs that you have. And I'm going to share with you where I get these features from. And also another viewer request was talking about minimizing jumps and about like the pathing of the design. So I'll talk about that a little bit as well when you're creating your designs and how to adjust the start and stop point to help minimize that. And so it's really just kind of an understanding of the tools. I like to show you, an example, but then of course, you can make it whatever you prefer it to be, right? So, okay, so we're gonna fill it up today with custom quilting design. So that's our viewer requested topic. And so let's talk about how we're going to do this. Now, I'm going to show you two different methods in our software that you can use to create custom fills. So there are motifs and advanced stippling designs built into several pieces of our software, and those designs usually fill a shape. And so our Perfect Embroidery Pro actually has the ability for you to create custom motif and stippling designs, and then it would expand your list, and then you choose a shape and then fill it. Okay. But then not everybody has PEP, and I know that. So I always like to give you other ways to create, these different tasks that you're wanting to do. And so maybe one of your programs would have the features that you need to accomplish this. So the other way that I'm going to share with you is using the repeat tool. This is a tool that will take one design or whatever you have selected. It could be multiple things, and it just makes duplicates of it, and it just puts them in perfect rows. And then there's options where you can kind of offset them and stuff. But we're going to use that to also create a pattern for filling a shape. And then if you do it this method, you have to get it to fit in the shape. So we use our crop tool for that. So those are the examples that I'm going to show you. And I do have listed where each one of these tools come from. So I'll share that with you because I know we all have different programs and different pieces of software. So, okay, let's head over to our embroidering tool shed and get started with creating the custom fill. So I want to start with the repeatable pattern because this to me is really simple, and this tool could be used actually for a lot of different things. So let's first use that tool. So the tool that I'm going to be using is called our repeat tool. So I first need something to repeat. Okay, so I'm going to just use a shape. Now, where can you find shapes in your software? In all of our dime software, there are designs or shapes or artwork, and if you have any of those programs that have some shapes, you can use them in all of the other ones that you own. That's the nice thing about Embroidery Tool Shed is it puts all of your tools together. So down here over to on the right hand side, you can see all the little icons. Those are all the software that I own and are activated. And I can use all of those features all here on this one screen. Okay. So in Perfect Embroidery Pro, under your text tools, you've got these applique shapes. And when you select these, and you choose one that you maybe want to make into a motif design. So I'm going to just use maybe say this little clover shape here. And you can see it comes in as a satin stitch edge, which we call that a still stitch because it's the same width satin everywhere. And you can then convert that to the run stitch that we need for the quilting just by doing a right mouse click, convert to a run stitch. You can also use your effects panel here if you have Perfect Embroidery Pro to just click to turn it to a run. Or depending on what other programs you have, you might have the run stitch convert to option on your toolbar. Okay, so there's always several different ways to do things. Okay, now if you want to look for shapes elsewhere, like if I click over here, say on my cut and stitch, and my first option there are my craft shapes. And when I bring these up, now the first ones are ones that are from Embroidery Garden's collection, the Bon Voyage collection, but the others here that are not under the designer collection are all built in. So I can go down here looking for any of these shapes. And again, this is my my cut and stitch, and I could select this, click OK, and then let's move it out of the way here. And then I could turn that into a run stitch to do what we're going to be doing today. Okay, so that's where you can get a bunch of different designs. So all of these designs that are built in and artwork shapes can be used to create repeatable patterns if you want. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you one more place to get it. So I'm going to go to my In the Hoop designer software, and I'm going to go to the designs category here and open up the library. And then under the food and drink, I'm going to grab this. Now, this is an embroidery design, but look at your embroidery designs that come with your embroidery modules that you own. If I ungroup this, there's actually an artwork shape grouped with that embroidery design. So if I actually delete all the embroidery parts, I'm actually just left with that shape. And it turns out that that shape would be a great one to do for a quilting motif, because you can see the outline is all connected. So if I convert this to my run stitch, then you can see it does great. Now, here's another tip on creating these. Now, when I select this, if I go over here to my properties area, this is almost a 4-inch wide design. So usually, like if I'm going to fill something with a quilting design, I'm going to need to use a different size. So I'm going to maybe make this a little bit smaller. So maybe a 2-inch size. And I like to change the size before I convert it to a run stitch. Artwork resizes a lot cleaner than stitches. Even though we've created this in the software, I just like to work with the artwork. Then I know I'm getting the cleanest version of my resize, and then I will convert to a run stitch. Now, when you make it really small, remember your run stitch that it's making. When you make something that has this much detail really tiny, let's make it really small. Look how we're starting to lose the detail. And that's the length of the run stitch there. That's, for such a small area. You could reduce the length of your run stitch. So if I drop that down to say 2 millimeters, you can see we get just a little bit more detail, but it's still not a ton. But I wouldn't want to go any smaller than that. And in fact, really 2.0 is really virgin on short for what I really like. Okay. But I'm going to do my undo. You guys know I love this key. I use it a ton. So I'm going to use my undo and put this back to a little bit bigger design. So this is a 2 inches wide by just a little over 1.5 inches tall. Okay. So now to make a repeatable pattern, this is the easiest way to do this, and that is to use the repeat tool here. And when I use the repeat tool, especially if you want to, make this design quilted together, you can reduce the distance here between the repeats so that they're touching. So maybe whenever it quilts in a row here, you can turn off the trim, and you just you don't get all of these trims. So you can put those closer together, and then you can increase the number of repeats here. And if you watch this size, depending on what size design you're making, let's say you're making a coaster that you want to fill it with this repeat, you can watch this size here to make sure it's big enough. But also you can make extra repeats, just to make sure you're covered. And also it's going to fill larger areas with the repeats. Okay. So I'm just going to say, okay, here. And then now you can actually see with it selected, all of those jump stitch that are running over there. So if you just do this, and you could do this, I know a lot of people, like, especially if you're stitching something that you're going to cover the back, it really does not matter so much if you've got tie off stitches, and it's tying that knot and trimming, but it's going to stitch faster and more efficient if you make some adjustments for that. But let's just watch this stitch out on the screen here. I'm going to use my slow redraw, and then we can use this slider here, and you can see it stitches one, and then it stops, and then it's going to trim and jump over to the other, and then it's going to stitch all of these in a row just like that. Okay. And I'm going to have a trim after each one, and I'm going to have the machine move. It's not going to leave this thread here. That's just showing me the path. It's going to move and trim and start the next one. So each one of these cherry designs, I'll have a stop and a tie off and a trim after each one. Okay. And then most all of our software has this option for commands. So if I click that, it'll actually turn on the command option here so that I can actually see what's going on. Okay. So now let's do an undo here and let's just look at just this one by itself and see maybe what we can change here. Now, when I select this, I probably have my trim over here. So my ending command, I have it set to normal, and I'm going to change it to a trim here so that you can see that we actually see that little pair of scissors. I know that's really hard if I zoom in. Okay. So there's a little pair of scissors there. That lets me know that it's going to stop and trim for each of my designs. Now, if I want to change where it starts and stops, you need the shape tool. And the shape tool is in a few of our different software. And when I click it, it shows my points and I can move my start and stop point. Okay. When I hover over this, that is a green dot at the end of my cursor, means I'm going to move uh, my start point. And then if I move my stop point, say to over here, I can force this to start over here, end over here. And if I connect those 2 points and I turn off my trim, it'll just keep going on. Okay. So let's see that. Now, to make sure I'm on the same plane here, as my start and stop point. This is actually going to help us earlier. I clicked on my ruler bar and I hold and I drag down and I get this blue line. That's a guideline that can help me line up my points. If you've ever been creating edge to edge designs, you want to make sure that they link. That's what I do to make sure I get those points to line up, the ending one and the starting one. Okay. So now that we've got our start and our stop point, now I know what some of you guys are thinking. If it starts and stops on different sides, it's going to overwrite. Yes, it is. Okay. And so, but let's watch it. We're learning, right? Okay. So I'm going to watch the slow redraw here just on one, and you can see that it stitches all the way around from the start point that I set. And then it's going to run back over and end over here on this point. Okay. And now if I turn off that trim again, okay, from my commands here, I'm going to go back to normal. And now if we do that repeat tool and we make sure that these are close enough to touch, and actually if they're not, you can actually see the kind of little stitch there, but I'm going to move them to where they will touch and click OK. And so now when we watch this, it will stitch one of these rows continuous without uh, stopping. It's going to stitch from the start point all the way over to this stop point. So if we watch this stitch out, you can see that it goes from here right over into that one. And so, and that's knowing, just how to create the pathing. Now, the second row here, you can see that it jumps down to start here. And so I would switch it around so that it started on this side, ended over here. So then your machine doesn't have to travel as far. Okay. And so you can move those points around, or maybe even you just want to mirror image this row if you want, so that it doesn't have as far to travel. And you can certainly do that again. And you kind of see that line that jumps down there to get to this point for our design. And the same thing here. Okay. And you could move all those points with your shape tool, just like we did before, or that's just another option there for creating a closer connecting point. Okay. So now let me do undo here, and I'm going to go back to just this one. And now that we've kind of seen how we can make some adjustments to that pathing to make it a little bit better, let's make this pattern bigger and let's crop to it, because that's the next step that we need. Okay. So I'm just going to put those closer together. And then I'm going to do more repeats here. So I have a larger area, and click OK. And let's say we want this shape here to be inside of a circle. Okay. So I'm going to use my artwork tool and just draw a circle. So like if you were making a coaster from the in the Hoop software, this is kind of how you would use it, is you would crop it to this. Now, normally I would crop artwork to this. And so if it's already run stitches, I can convert it back to artwork. But normally I would work all in artwork before doing this crop. But let's just take a look here. I think it will crop the run stitch, but let's just try. This is what I do at home. I just try. Okay. So I have an artwork shape on the screen and I have my run stitch cherries. And if I choose my option here, and my shaping is not under here, and that's what I'm looking for. So it definitely wants me to have that artwork shape here. So I'm going to convert this to artwork by doing a right mouse click, convert to artwork. And now when I select everything, and you can see now I've got my shaping option. And so oh, you know what? I am backwards. So I'm out of practice here. So let me back up. Okay. So this is not what I want. I want not the option here. I want the option under utility and crop. So utility and crop. And actually I'm going to go back. We're going to try this again because I do think it will work on my my run stitch. Okay. So now you can see that I cropped that custom fill to that round shape. Now let's undo it again because I like to be different. Okay. So now I'm going to select everything again. Now I'm back to run stitches and artwork, right mouse click, utility and crop. Okay, so I was thinking it would work with the run stitch, but sometimes I just need to try things. Okay, so you can crop that repeatable pattern to any shape. So if you're making with your In the Hoop designer, maybe you're making a coaster or a mug rug, or maybe you're creating a shape from scratch that you're doing. Maybe you're quilting an area on a block if you want. Okay, so that's how we can create a fill using the repeatable pattern. So, and we'll go over some other tips for this, but let's see if we have any questions. I don't like to get too far ahead of the questions. So let me just scroll backwards here and take a look and see if we have any questions. So is that Manon? Sorry about that. Horrible with that name there. So I'm looking for auto digitizing in your software, not with a photo, but an image like a PNG, SVG. So auto digitizing is our wizard. And the auto digitizing wizard is in Perfect Embroidery Pro, or you can use the auto vectorizing wizard in Cut and Stitch that will bring in the design, convert it to a vector file, and then you can turn it into a design. So I would say for auto digitizing right into an embroidery design, that's Perfect Embroidery Pro. And then if you want to vectorize a raster image to then further digitize it, I would use Cut and Stitch for that. So good question. So let's see what else we've got here. Any other questions that we have? Mickey Smith, thanks for being here, Mickey. I always love seeing what you're doing with your software too. If you create a fill and you save it, can you save to a long arm format, or can you only save to a long arm if you have one of the quilting software? So our Perfect Embroidery Pro, our My Quilt Embellisher, My Quilt Planner are the ones that will save to your long arm format. So Perfect Embroidery Pro or My Quilt Embellisher or My Quilt Planner is what you need for the long arm formats. Then yes, you could create your own long arm designs. How cool is that, right? And then Joanne, hey Joanne, she said any criteria for when the artwork shape is or is not there. And so, well, you can create your own artwork shape if you want with the built-in drawing tools. So that's certainly an option. You can bring in designs from other sources. So if you have SVG files or other artwork files like FCM, you can bring those in and work with those as well. So there's lots of different options. There's lots of built-in stuff, or you can draw them, or you can even bring in designs. That's a really good question, Joanne, and a question that a lot of people have. So thanks for asking that. So, and then Linda said, if you turn off the repeat set from the run back to artwork, then what about your start points? And so, yes. And so that's why I wanted to go from the run stitch. But yes, you on your artwork, you can't change the start and top points. That's the stitches. But artwork converts to stitches with those start and stop points in those locations based on how it was drawn. So if you are creating a design that you're drawing, start and stop where you want it to start and stop, and it that's kind of, how the artwork will turn into the run stitches. But then with your run stitches, you're definitely going to have to change the start and stop point. And even after I cropped it, then that sometimes can change that pathing too. So you really just have to kind of look at it and watch. And, I'm showing you this way as an easy way to do it, but if you really want to create your own designs and you want them to stitch an exact way, the best way to do it is to draw it yourself, because then you have much better control over the pathing. Because when we start doing these things like cropping and all this stuff, it just changes a lot of stuff. And to me, it's more work sometimes to get that exactly adjusted to stitch out better than it is if I just drew it myself and then I know I've got it in that exact right order. So, but I think that a lot of us feel like we're not good at drawing or tracing or using our artwork tools. So sometimes we just want to use the shapes that are built in and adjust from there. So, and it's really just up to you, kind of whatever you prefer. So, if you have a pre-digitized background quilting, can you crop it as well? So, I don't think so. I think that you're going to have to either convert it to artwork and then maybe back to the run, but we'll try it. So, but I don't think it's going to work that way, just because after it has been saved out into an expanded format, it is different than a design that was created in the software. So, but I do so much of my own creating, I don't know that I've tried to crop it to a shape. So we'll just pull something and we'll try it, Cindy. That's a great question. I love that. And then how do you auto digitize or turn a photo to artwork? So Deborah, auto digitizing, so you can use your wizard and if you have Perfect Embroidery Pro, it allows you just to select a artwork type image and then it'll just do all the work and convert it into an embroidery design. Or if you have an artwork type file, you can open it in the software. And then just like I was doing with the artwork on the screen, right mouse click and you can convert it to the type of stitches that you want. That's the easiest way to do it. If it's a photograph, so a photograph is different than like a clip art type design. So a photograph would be our Stitch Snapshot Plus software that actually will convert a photo, because photos have millions of colors to make up the image, whereas usually clip art style designs are flat, one color, design, and those would be digitized, with our regular Perfect Embroidery Pro. But if it's a photograph that you want digitized, then I would say Stitch Snapshot would be a good option for that. So, and then Sandra said, need a class on digitizing and vectorizing. So I will tell you, I am not a digitizer. I don't consider myself a digitizer. I know how to work the features in my software. And whenever I'm at my embroidery machine and I'm stitching my design, if it does something that I feel like it could be done better, I know how to adjust that in my software. But understanding digitizing is it's an art in itself, and there are tons of people out there that teach digitizing itself and just learning, what stitches put where, underlays and things like that. I know how to work my software. I watch it stitch out and I still do a lot of testing, and you learn that way. But I definitely don't consider myself, like a master digitizer or anything. So certainly, learn from some of those masters out there that are master digitizers. So Joyce Stevens says, I understand there's also a repeating Thursday class to learn software. I cannot seem to find it on YouTube. What is it called? Is it saved somewhere? So on Thursday, so we have another live show on Thursday that Eileen teaches, and she will a lot of times show a snippet of software. And so you can probably find that on our YouTube or our Facebook channel. If it's another software class, maybe through your dealer or something, I'm not sure about that. But our Thursday one would be on our YouTube as well. It's called Between Friends. And on that episode, Eileen usually shows not only like she'll show a little snippet of software, but there's also other demonstrations in that as well, where she does tools and tips and tricks for the stitching process. So great question. So if I missed any, certainly feel like you can ask again, but I think that I covered most of them. So let's head back over and talk about this a little bit more. Okay, so here that we've cropped it to our shape and we've created the custom fill, let's go and test Cindy's question about a a design from outside the software. So I'm going to open up a file here. And well, actually, you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to do undo, and I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to save this as a machine format file. So file, save as, and let's choose a format. So I'm just going to choose PES here, put it on my desktop so we can get back to it, call it cherries. And this would be the same type of simulation as if you were bringing in a design that is coming from an outside source. Okay, so if I click File, New, or File, I could have done Open, but I'll do Merge now that I've done that. And then let's grab our cherries, Open. Okay, and let's draw an artwork and crop it. Okay, so select everything, and under my utility, and look at that, crop is not there. So I think that answers our question. So I didn't think you'd be able to do it, but I like to try things just to double check as well. So now under my utility option, crop isn't there, but if we go back over to this design and put my circle back, and now we select everything under the right mouse click, utility, see how I have crop? If the option's not there, it won't work with it. It knows what it's looking for with the software, so it's not going to be able to be cropped if you bring in an outside design. So, and I know that that's the case with some specialty stitches, but really the run stitch, I wondered if it would really kind of figure out the run stitch, but there we go. There's our answer on that. So, and in this case, what you could do is just use your shape tool and delete. So you can select and delete to remove stitches from that are not within this area. So you can do that. You can also use your stitch tool just to select those stitches, and you see how I'm deleting. Okay. So if you have a design from an outside source, you could put your shape on top of it like here, and then just delete the areas that you don't need. Now, you know what that's going to do? That's really going to change your pathing. Whatever digitize the design that you're trying to crop, it's really going to change that pathing. So just be mindful of that. Some people don't care about the pathing, and some people really strive to get it as good as possible. It means your machine's not jumping around or moving around. So, but I feel like where there's a will, there's always a way, right? Okay. And so if you are wanting to do a repeat pattern in this way, that's an easy way to do it. Now, if you do own Perfect Embroidery Pro, so I'm going to open up a new page here, and then let's just do our same circle, like we're going to make a coaster. Okay. And so Perfect Embroidery Pro and Word Art, or not Word Art and Stitches, but My Quilt Embellisher has a lot of quilting motif fills, and some of our other pieces also have these built-in motifs, but it's Perfect Embroidery Pro that'll let you create a custom one. Okay, so let's go over here to our effects panel for this one. I think this will be the easiest way. And so there's this option here to fill it with a motif, and I click it, and you can see that looks like kind of a decorative sewing machine stitch. And over here in my pattern area, I can change that to all different types of stitches, and I can change the pattern length to make it more spaced out or closer together. And these are pattern fills. Okay, so you choose a shape, and then you can choose from these different patterns to fill. And because it's open and you can open it as much as you want, it's going to quilt your fabric, right? Okay, so, and we also have not just the motifs here, but there's also one that's called advanced stippling, which has some different quilting fills as well. Okay, and so you choose it. You can enter the pattern link to whatever you want it to be, if you want it to be more open or closer together. You can also change the direction with your shape tool with these fills. So you can see here, I can move these angle lines, and when I do a right mouse click, it moves that around. Let me choose something that's definitely directional here so we can see that even better. And I'm also going to reduce the size back down so that we can see this repeat here. Okay, so if I move this angle line here, you can see the stitches move around. Okay, so those are built-in fills. You do have to have a shape. You choose the shape and then you fill it with the design, and it's stopping right at the edge. When it stitches out, it is attempting, the software is going to attempt to stitch this all without stopping and doing any trims. That's the nice thing about the fills. And so if we watch this stitch out, you can see that it's going all over, and it is kind of going around the edge of our circle. And you can see we've got these broken areas, and that's because it's trying to stitch this pattern without stopping and trimming. And it actually is successful at it. But sometimes that means that it does have to backtrack over a design. Okay, so now we've got hundreds of those built in to My Quilt Embellisher, and also to um, Perfect Embroidery Pro. But and then some of our other programs have the built-in fills as well. But if you want to create your own custom fill so that you can just select the shape and fill it, then let's see how to do that. And that is only with Perfect Embroidery Pro. Okay, so now if we wanted to do the cherries, they're kind of big for this. So I'm actually going to choose something that I can make smaller. And so I'm going to go to File, and I want to point out here this option called Special Files. These are program files that are embedded in the software that you're using. And you can see here, Perfect Embroidery Pro has the ability to open and save a lot of different types of specialty files. And the one that we're going to be working with is either the motif or the stippling, whichever one you want to work with. So, but what I recommend is opening one of these. So let's open one. And I'm going to turn on my extra large view here, and we can kind of see them. And you can see those examples. Now, I can see these little images like this because of my Perfect Stitch viewer. Okay, so if yours don't show as little images, might be that you don't own Perfect Stitch viewer. Okay, so let me choose one like this one. Here would probably be a good one. Actually, I mean, any of them would work, but let's just, here, we'll do something really simple here at the top here. Okay, so now these are one individual little run stitch design. So if I go back over on my, well, I don't have it there anymore. I deleted it. Let's just make a shape here quickly that we can select and fill so I can show you what they look like. So that was from the advanced stippling category, and that is really tiny. So let me go bigger and much bigger because these are, it's filling an area. And so, and I'm going to reduce this down. So maybe like 5 for the pattern length. Okay. So if I use the drop down, you can see the apple core option. This is this. Okay. So this one design is repeated over and over to fill the shape that I've chosen. So if you create one shape and you save it as the pattern fill, the advanced stippling or the motif, then when you select it from the list, it will create the pattern. Okay, so let's look at this design, and let me point out a couple of things. So because this tries to stitch in one continuous motion, when you create these, it is required that you have the start point on the left and the end point on the right. So if I click my shape tool here, you can see that there's my start point and there's my stop point. So when I save this and it stitches one of them, it's going to start here and it's going to stitch the design and it's going to end over here so that it can immediately start the next design. So then it would start from here, stitch the design, and so forth and so on. So that's why you have to have the run point, the start point on the left and the run point on the end point on the right. Okay. So now that we know that, let's go and try to do our own. Okay. And also, I like to make note of the size. So this is saved as a about a 1/2 inch size design. So that's a great starting point. Okay. So I'm going to start a new page, and then I'm going to go into, let's go into in the hoop shapes here. And let's just look for something. So let's do this little clover shape here, okay? Because I don't think I have a clover motif, so this would be a good one. And it also gives me the ability to teach you just something else here. So now this is a just an artwork design, so we needed to turn it to stitches, but let's first make it about a 1/2 inch tall and click apply. And then now I'm going to convert that to my run stitch. And let's zoom in here and let's make it a lighter color so we can see a little bit better. And then I'm going to use my shape tool, and you can see that my start and stop point are both right here, because if I'm making this as one design, it could just stitch all the way around and end there. But if I want to make this a motif, I need to have it start and stop on the opposite side. Okay. Now, you might be tempted to put the start right here in the middle and the stop over here in the middle, but that's actually not going to work, because it's actually going to try to connect these 2 points. So you want it to be kind of on the outer edge here. So I'm going to just drag a line down so that I can put my start and stop on either side. So if I move this here for my start and move this over here for my stop. Now, is it going to overwrite this area? Yes, it is. If you want to do, and if we watch this stitch out, okay, so this is going to stitch all the way around, and then it's going to run back to get to our stop point. Now, if you don't want to do that, you could create your own custom design. Remember, we talked about pathing, where you draw the shape, and maybe when you draw it, maybe you start here and then you go all the way around. And maybe instead of here, maybe you would rather there be a line that runs through. That's up to you. Okay. So, but in this case, I'm going to leave it as it is. It's going to work fine for what we're learning today. So now that I've got that done, I need to save it as my motif. So in Perfect Embroidery Pro, I have the ability to choose File and save a special file type, which in this case, we're going to save this advanced stippling. And it saves it to this specific format that I need. I'm going to put my initials in front of this so that if I leave this in here and somebody asks and says, I don't have the same designs you do, then I know that I created this one. So I'm just putting my initials and then Clover for the design. And then I'm going to click Save. Okay, so I'm going to leave this open. You can see the name is ajclover.stp. That's the file format that we have to save for this stippling design. And then I'm going to start a new page, and let's fill this one. Let's play with our design we just created. And yes, it was just that easy to create that design. Okay, so I'm going to do a heart for this one. I'm just going to drag it big, and then you can make it whatever color or leave it or whatever. We're just testing. Okay, so now let's convert that to be filled with our advanced stippling. Okay, we already saw how to do that. You could either do that under your effects panel, or if you choose right mouse click and convert to, you'll have to convert it to a complex fill and then change the complex fill type to the advanced stippling here. Okay, but now look at my pattern option. I've got AJ Clover. So if I select that and I click apply, how stinking cute is that? Isn't that adorable? Okay, so if you have Perfect Embroidery Pro, you can create custom fills like this, and then they would be in your software that you can access and fill a shape, okay? Now, let's go back and do one more thing before we answer some more questions, because I want to point out here, what if we had put the start and stop right here at this inset? Let's do it, and I'll show you what happens, okay? So it's going to try to start stitching from here, so the design's going to repeat at that point, and you're going to have like overlapping. Now, that might be good for a particular type of design, but I think this one's going to make a mess. So we'll see. Okay. So I just changed my start stop point. I saved it so that it would save over top of that file. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to do undo. so that I can re-choose that. So it'll pick up the saved one now. That's all I'm doing. And when I click apply, look at that. So it's repeating at that point, and then you've got some overlapping. Now, if you had, say, maybe some hearts that were nested or something like that, it might actually make a cute little swoop-de-swoop design, but play around with it and test it. But I actually kind of like my design. So I'm going to do undo and put my start and stop points back where they were, and then just click save again. And then let's go back over here. And if I just undo it, then it'll allow me to go back and check the correct one. It just like reload it is all I'm doing. So sometimes it knows what I'm trying to do, but sometimes I just need to reload it and it works. Okay. So how cool is that? Right. So depending on which software you have would be what, way that you created those and your abilities. Now, I always like to say that Perfect Embroidery Pro has the ability to pretty much do anything you want it to do if you know how to create it. Our other modules are a lot simpler, like one-click option than Perfect Embroidery Pro. But Perfect Embroidery Pro, man, it can really make some magic, right? So I just love that. I think that turned out so cute. So, okay. And then I'm just going back here to see if there are any questions that popped up. Maybe you guys are all mesmerized with the questions. So, Bet, you said, I'm trying to make the diagonal zipper bag and I'm struggling with getting the fill in place. I will try what you showed to get a better way to add the fill on either side of the zipper. So, Bet, and I know you have, Bet, I'm like 90% sure that you have Perfect Embroidery Pro too. And so for in the Hoop software, if you adjust the fill and then you can actually choose your shape tool and actually reshape the fill. That's the nice thing about having the shape tool, and Perfect Embroidery Pro would let you create a motif if you want, but I'm pretty sure the shape tool right inside of the In the Hoop Designer would let you change that. So really good question. Adjust that fill shape. So, and then Joyce says, do you want the outline to be continuous? It looks like there are some gaps. So yes. So on the previous one that I showed, the gaps. So what I normally do on that, depending on what you're using that in. So for instance, if you're using it in a coaster that you're putting a piece of fabric and then you're turning the edges, I don't worry about those edges being open because that's going to be covered by my last stitch that turns my project inside out. But if you're quilting it, say like on a quilt block or something like that, I usually make the run stitch outline the last thing that happens. So it'll do the fill because it's got those broken areas because it's trying to do it all in one motion. And then I just make a run stitch outline the same shape and it fills in the edges of my design. So really good question. So, and then Caroline says, can you now offset those motifs? You actually can. So if you create two motifs like on one and you offset them, just make sure your end points are where they need to be so that it'll pick up the next one. But yes, you can save two of them and then offset them and it will do the repeat for you. That's another really great question. So but yeah, so what did you guys think? Isn't that cool? So this was a viewer request, so I appreciate you guys asking for these different topics. So if there's other things that you want to see, feel free to put it in the chat. I've got a few more that were requested a few episodes back that I'm also going to work on for the next couple of episodes. So I love answering your questions, making sure that you're getting the most out of your software. So before we sign off, because it looks like we've answered all the questions, I just want to give you guys that are new just a little bit more information. So just a reminder, I try to do this every so often when you're learning your embroidery software. So Dime software, we have built-in in-app videos. So if you hover over any of the icons, it says press F2 for video. And so you can press the F2 on your keyboard. You might have to do the function key to get to your F2, but it'll play a short little video of how to use that tool. Okay, so that's one way to learn your software that you may not already be using. Also, over here in this shopping cart or this little grocery cart tab down at the bottom, it's a green grocery cart. you can expand these. We've kind of organized these just recently, and each one of these software are the different modules that we have. And next to them is a button that's an options button, and it has an ellipsis on it. So if you click the ellipsis option, you'll have choices. You can click for the manual, and I will tell you, our manuals are in the process of being updated. You'll see that a lot of them have new content and updated things already. So check that out. And then also tutorials. So that links to our YouTube channel that has videos specific on that particular program. Okay. So this would link to all of the videos on word art and stitches. Okay, so that's a great resource for you to learn as well. And as you're working on learning your software, I think the manual is a great resource, and also those videos. But join our Facebook user group as well. We have a user group called Dime Inspiration Software Users, and that's where you can ask us questions. I'm over there answering questions, and so are all of our educators and thousands of knowledgeable users. A lot of these that I'm seeing here are in the Facebook group, and they can answer your questions as well. So I love that. So, all right, we've got more people joining here at the end. So, hey, how's it going, my friends at Laboo, either Sarah or Lisa? Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining. And then Creative Appliques, that's Dawn, had a question. She said, when you're using a motif as a fill, do the stitch links automatically adjust, or will the stitch links stay the same if you resize? So whatever it's set to, when you resize smaller or larger, it maintains that length. So that's the nice thing about resizing a design that's built into the software, for those of you that are unfamiliar with that. So that's a great question, Dawn. Thank you for asking that. So, and then a couple of other things that I want to, that I will answer. So Linda says, on Mac, what's the F2 equivalent? So, on my Mac, Linda, I have an F2 button on my Mac. So if you don't have it on your keyboard, maybe just do a quick Google for your specific model. But I use both a Mac and a PC with my Dime software, and my Mac is a MacBook Pro. And I have a row of function keys on the top of my keyboard. So just Google your exact model. Maybe that'll help as well. So, and then Annie says, is Dime free? So we do have a free software, Annie, that's called Embroidery Toolshed, which houses all of our modules. You could download it. It allows you to print templates, resize, rotate, open designs, things like that. But then the features that I was showing today are from our paid modules. So, but great question. So, and then April says, I hope to get my In the Hoop software sorted out soon. I love the software and more time to play with. April, I think you were the one that had the problem with the supplemental files. And so, yes, I think that they sent you an email from customer service. So hopefully they can definitely get you corrected soon. So I remember seeing that. But we always watch for any issues and make sure that I report them. Customer service is watching to help you as well. So, but we'll get you fixed up one way or the other. So, and then Carolyn Morrow says, where do we rewatch these episodes? So if you go to our YouTube channel called Dime by OESD and look for the playlist option, there are playlists for software success, and they're actually all grouped under there. So that's a great way to get back to them. And then Lucy says, and how many computers can you load it? 2 computers on your software. So that's a great question, Lucy. So you can put your software on 2 computers. The difference between a border and an outline. So a border is a satin or steel stitch, and then the outline is usually a run stitch. So if you switch to a border, it'll look like a satin stitch all the way around. So good question. So you guys are awesome. Okay, so I think that's the last thing I have. Let me flip back over and just show you where these features came from, and then I'll show you what I'm planning next time, and then we'll see if there are any other questions pop up. Okay, so the tools I was using, I used the artwork tool. And so you can see we have the artwork tool in nearly every dime program except for like our free version and the embroidery tool Shed Plus. But most of our other paid modules all have the artwork tool where you can actually draw your own custom shapes, or you can use the built-in shapes as well. And the repeat tool, where I use that one design to create multiple repeats of it, that is in PEP, My Lace Maker, Cut and Stitch, Special Effects, and In the Hoop. And then the convert to run, because you need your artwork to be run for it to be considered a quilting stitch, is in all of those modules: PEP, My Quilt Embellisher, My Block Piecer, Vintage Embroidery, and My Lace Maker, Patch and Applique Maker, Cut and Stitch, and Special Effects. So, and the reason I like to share these like this, and I know this goes away, well, it will live on the internet forever, but you certainly can take a screenshot or a picture of this if you want to refer back to it to see if you've got these modules. But the thing is if you have two different modules, sometimes the features that you don't have in one, you'll have in the other. And because of Embroidery Tool Shed being the place that everything comes together and works together, then if you don't have it in one of your programs but the other, they still are going to work together. So the other things that I use, the shape tool, that's the one that's going to allow me to see my start and stop points on my stitches. The crop tool, where we cropped the design to the shape. And then I didn't use the applique tool. It was actually left on here from last time, I think. But then the create motif and the advanced stippling design, the Perfect Embroidery Pro is the program that will do that, because it has the ability to save to the formats. Now you can create those little miniature designs in other dime software, but to be able to save it and it to show up in your list of options, that is Perfect Embroidery Pro. So hopefully that helps you making your list of maybe the things that you want to add sometimes. So, okay, so in a couple of weeks, and when August starts, I can't even believe we're saying August, but in August on the 5th, I am back and it will be working with external fonts. This was another request that I got. So this is another viewer request. And I know sometimes, or in the past, you may have purchased fonts that are individual files. And so I'm going to show you how to bring those in, how to work with them in your software. And also, if you have Perfect Embroidery Pro or Word Art and Stitches, you can make them a keyboard font, even if they're all separate files. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So we're going to work with external fonts. So see me back here on August the 5th. Now, if you don't have the programs that I was using today, as you saw, I was using a combination of several of them, and we have lots of programs from Dime. But I always like to tell you, if you're interested in purchasing, check with your favorite brick and mortar retailer. I love it when we can support our friends at our local stores. So definitely do that. Ask them if they have Dime software. If they don't, they certainly can reach out to OESD, maybe become a dealer possibly, and carry that in the store. If you don't have a location near you, you certainly can check out our website. But I definitely would say check with your favorite brick and mortar first, support them so that you'll always have someplace to go, and they'll help you as well. And we have lots of free education. So, all right. So I think that's a great place to end today. Thank you all for being here. This was a fun topic. And so thanks for you guys for requesting these special topics. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys back here on August the 5th. So until then, I'll say bye for now. Thanks for being here.